What's up, everybody? GeauxBurns doing another Discuss video. And if you have a Discuss suggestion for a future episode that I have yet to do, so be sure and check the Discuss playlist just in case, feel free and send it my way via the comment section, Facebook, Twitter, or Discord. All my social media stuff linked in the description section. So we're going to talk about gambling in video games. Now, we did talk about microtransactions a few weeks ago in another article with, I think it was, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick. This time, we're going from an article, gamesindustry.biz, linked in the description section. And a few things were discussed in this article, regarding the games industry going 100% digital. That's not the part I want to talk about. I want to talk about the part down here. Now, some of you may feel like I'm a broken record or a parrot if you happen to catch the latest ACG International podcast with Carrick, myself, Reg, Silver, and MF Wolf. We did talk about this in that podcast, FYI. But I felt like I wanted to, discuss it a little bit more, and what better place than here. All right, so let's go into the article, shall we? The shift to digital has also enabled publishers to pursue business models, including loot box-driven microtransactions. But as EA recently discovered with Star Wars Battlefront 2, players aren't always enthusiastic about how they're incorporated. Sladoff acknowledged the recent consumer uproar over the practice, but suggested their objections were not with microtransactions themselves, but with the game around them. Give me a moment. Quote unquote, the whole gambling regulator thing. We don't view that sort of thing as gambling. Our view of it is the same as the ESA statement. For most part, Sladoff said, that's going to play its course. But in the terms of consumer and noise you hear in the market right now, it's all about content. It's about over-delivering on content and making sure you're focused on engagement. That's been our strategy, and we're focused as long as you keep your eye on the ball. You're going to be okay. The consumer's going to be really happy with what they get, quote unquote. See, Sladoff continues. By the way, Sladoff is the president of Take-Two, whereas Strauss Zelnick is the CEO of Take-Two Interactive. Quote unquote, you can't force the consumer to do anything. You try to do your best to create the best experience you possibly can to drive engagement, and driving engagement creates value in entertainment. That's just how it's always been and always will be, quote unquote. Okay, so a lot of flack has gone EA's way over the past few years over a lot of issues that they've done. Most recently, obviously the problem with Star Wars Battlefront 2 is the loot crates. And loot crates can be found in many other games like Call of Duty World War II, CSGO, freemium games. Yeah, that's kind of like their origins. And that reminds me of an episode of South Park where they were bashing freemium games. And it's kind of sad because tonight's the season finale. And it means it's going to be several months before we get some more South Park. Oh, well. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, that's where it began, with a game that you could buy. You wouldn't have to buy, you just downloaded it. It was free to play, but became free to pay because in order to advance in some of these games, you had to pay money. And unfortunately, now it's the case where not only do you have to pay money for the game, like Battlefront 2, you also have to pay for the loot crates. Now, I realize that EA has done a 180 at the moment because, Disney came down hard on them because of this PR disaster. And at the moment, there is no more microtransactions in Battlefront 2. And that's probably going to change sometime after Star Wars The Last Jedi comes out in a few weeks. Then you'll see them return, most likely. But back to gambling and video games. And no, I'm not talking about, where you are in a casino in like Red Dead Redemption and you're playing against other players and you're not really playing for money. You're just playing for the fictional currency in the game. That is a form of gambling, but what we're talking about here is the fact that you are spending money, real money, dollars, pounds, euros, etc., on these loot crates. And the loot crates will generate stuff for you. It's not like you're going to a slot machine. I use this analogy, during the ACG International podcast, where you're not getting anything, where you play the penny slots, the nickel slots, quarter slots, whatever. And occasionally you might win $5, but in the long run, you may end up dropping $50 or $100. In other words, you only got $5, but you lost like $95 in the process. But you have to also remember, when you go to a casino, those of you that have been there, you also get other things. You get like free drinks. You can get comped if you do really good. You can get like a hotel room and some other treats as well that the casinos love to give out to their consumers, just like what the publishers do when it comes to certain video games now. So yes, there is a similarity. But the difference is obviously with the loot crates, you're getting something, right? I mean, it may be crap, but you're still getting something. Yay, I mean, awesome. It's crap. I didn't really want that random thing. It doesn't, serve any purpose for me, for what I'm going for in the game. But maybe eventually, after I put a few more bucks into the game or a few more pounds or euros, maybe just maybe randomly, a loot crate will drop and actually give me something that is quite useful for me to use. But how much money am I going to have to spend before that randomly happens? Now, shifting over from that to what we have in Grand Theft Auto Online, we have microtransactions as well, but not in the form of loot crates. We have it in the form of shark cards. And yes, theoretically, if you spent a ton of hours grinding in Grand Theft Auto Online, doing the various missions, heists, any double money opportunities, like this week we have the biker contracts, which is the best way to make money right now in the game. Till December 11th. There's also adversary modes, and the transform races are double money, but still the biker contract missions is where it's at money-wise. But it would take a long time to, say, raise enough money in order to afford various items in the game, like a bunker or a hangar or some of the newer content. And it definitely makes it difficult for players to make the money in-game in order to purchase these items. Even though Rockstar and Take-Two says you can, it's still a very long mountain to climb, and that's exactly what it is. Yeah, you could reach the top of the mountain instead of having to, take the lift, which costs money to take the lift. But at the same time, it's very slated against the player to where they have to go, and not always, but in my case, definitely. You have to go out and get shark cards, because I'm not always playing Grand Theft Auto Online. I'm playing other games, and real life stuff does occur. The difference here is, yes, you do spend money for shark cards in order to buy digital content. At the same time, whenever I go to the various fictional websites in Grand Theft Auto Online, like Legendary, Warstock, etc., and I spend this money, I know exactly what I'm getting. I know that I'm getting the 6.5 expensive as hell laser jet, or the Hunter attack helicopter, or a brand new supercar. It's not random. It's not like I might get the Hunter or I might get the Annihilator, but I'm putting in the same amount of money, for a very rare opportunity to maybe, just maybe, get a better vehicle, but most of the time you get shit. It's not like that when it comes to loot crates. Loot crates, it's just like, you may get something good every now and then, but most of the time it's average if you're lucky, and a lot of times it's obviously junk and crap and overall going to be completely useless. So as much as I hate microtransactions, I realize that unfortunately they're not going to go away. I do hope that the backlash regarding Battlefront 2 and other publishers having to deal with similar fallout from their fan base, like with Rockstar and Take-Two, like 2K18, there's a lot of fallout there over the microtransactions in that game. And, especially in Grand Theft Auto Online, how things have gotten even more expensive. Most recently with the laser last week when it came out. I mean, $6.5 million. I know I ranted about that a few days ago. But the point is, Rockstar and other companies do hear about this from the consumers, from their fans, via Twitter, email, YouTube videos. So I'm willing to guess that just like a lot of people complained about the loot crates and microtransactions in Battlefront 2, a lot of people have complained to Rockstar regarding the price tags of certain vehicles and certain content in the game, and the reality that things are expensive as hell in Grand Theft Auto Online. So that's one good thing, is the fact that we do have a voice, whether or not Rockstar or Take-Two or EA or Activision or any of the others choose to listen remains to be seen. I guess it's going to depend on, how good or how bad, their sales go in the future, right? In the next quarter, if sales for Grand Theft Auto Online content or Battlefront 2 or other games coming out start to go down because of microtransactions, be it shark cards or loot crates or anything else that, they tack into these games, then hopefully, the presidents, the CEOs of these various publishers out there will finally realize that, hey, you can't just nickel and dime your gamers over every little thing. I mean, they've been trying to get away for it for some time now, but it's getting worse. And you see that happening with these games. The latest example, of course, as we mentioned, Star Wars Battlefront 2, which I was actually kind of excited to play. Even though I did do the demo, I streamed it a few weeks ago. Well, a few weeks before it came out. I just wasn't feeling it, and the loot crates were a major turnoff as well. It's like I said, if I'm going to pick a type of microtransaction I have in a game, I'd rather it be you get what you pay for, right? If you want that really nice supercar, or you really want that nice gun, or that really nice armor, or that ability, there should be a set price instead of the random generator, which is designed just like a slot machine. This is going back to gambling, by the way. Designed just like a slot machine to intentionally, give out a winner every now and then, just to give you the illusion that you might just win $5 or $10 or $100 or more. It gives you the illusion, just like the illusion that you might just win that $25,000 car that's, in the middle of the casino floor. Like, win this car. Okay, so I have just as much of a chance to win that car as everyone else that comes through here in this casino at EA, or this casino at Take-Two, the Take-Two casino. And the truth is, only one person is going to win, but everyone thinks that they're going to win. But the truth is, like, 99.9% of us 100,000 plus people that come through here every day with the microtransactions, be it loot crates, shark cards, whatever, we're not going to get that $25,000 car. It's the same thing with the slot machines. Okay, you keep pulling, and you'll be lucky every now and then to get something legendary or get something rare. It does happen, but most of the time, what you're going to get is crap. And so, yes, in my opinion, I consider loot crates and, this random generated nonsense where you're spending real money, for the chance of maybe or maybe not getting something awesome, whether it's a gun skin or a particular piece of clothing or some sort of upgrade or a character or whatever. I consider that a form of gambling because you're gambling on the possibility of whether or not you're going to get it. Now, maybe it's a lottery system, but still, the lottery system is also a form of gambling, okay? Even though it's a lot more, I guess you could say, mundane, where you could just go into like a local convenience store as long as you're a certain age. You give them $2, they give you a lottery ticket. It's the same thing, okay? I might, get a Powerball number, and that might give me, my $2 back, or I might get a couple numbers that give me $10. But what's the chances of me getting the jackpot? Whether it's $15 million or $150 million or more, very, 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 very slim. And everybody that partakes in the lottery, aka the loot crates, is giving way more money to the developers, the publishers, than they're getting back. So we get a little bit back, a little something every now and then, but at the same time, they're getting way more. So in my opinion, yes, loot crates is a form of gambling in video games. And unfortunately, I fear that because of the fact that you have EA, Take-Two, Activision, the others that have, a lot of money, billions of dollars, and they're able to put that money into campaign coffers in, various countries, like in the United States, in the UK, in Canada, throughout Europe, elsewhere. They can sway enough of the elected officials of these countries and the EU to see it differently. Oh, well, we don't see it as gambling while they're counting the euros and the pounds that Take-Two and EA and others have given them for their re-election bids. So they have a way to influence the people that decide this sort of thing in government as to whether or not this is, in fact, a form of gambling or not. But the reality is, it is gambling. You can, paint it whatever color you want. You can say it's not, but it is. And, from my knowledge, from my experience with gambling, and the fact that it is very addicting, especially for younger, more like easily influenced people like teens, tweens that get a hold of mommy and daddy's credit card, you know, because mommy and daddy don't know any better. And then they're racking up the money. Just like with what happened with the freemium games years earlier, the same thing happened. It's a form of gambling. And that's what they're doing. They're preying upon the younger gamers who don't know any better, and even older gamers, because a lot of people that are adults have gambling problems. They have a gambling addiction. That's why, you know, by law, you know, the boats that are in the town I happen to live in, you know, we have gambling casinos here, and there's casinos throughout the country, you know, whether it's in Vegas or Atlantic City or elsewhere. They always have, you know, like the 1-800 number they have to promote. They're like, you got a gambling problem? Call this number for help, because they're obligated by law to do that. And so maybe, just maybe, the publishers should have to do the same thing. Because, yeah, you keep thinking, well, you know what? If I spend a few more bucks, you know, I got a feeling that the next loot crate's going to get me something. Nope, not that one. Okay, maybe the next one. Maybe the next one. And before you know it, you've already spent like a few $100s in the hopes of getting something awesome from the loot crates when you've only gotten a few items and maybe 1 or 2 decent items, and the rest of it's shit. So that's what I think about gambling in the gaming industry. I do believe it exists, even if, you know, some out there don't wish to call it gambling. They wish to redefine it as something else entirely. That's fine. Whatever your point of view is on the subject, gambling in gaming or video games, be it about, you know, like CSGO, Battlefront 2, Call of Duty World War II, etc., feel free and chime in with your opinions below in the comments section.